and sorry, yes, a letter to America from Osama bin Laden, and they published it in 2014, and it was basically just telling, giving Americans and America and its allies a piece of his mind. So I don't know if you want to read it, but I mean the news is that it was suddenly removed from the Guardian, and then everybody noticed. It's kind of, Streisand effect, I guess. So I basically put the link to my blog post of 2014 to the letter to America from bin Laden. And it's also got a link to the Guardian as well, but today you will see that it says it's been removed. So it's pretty obvious that they don't. It's something they don't want us to read. But I had the foresight to cut and paste it and put it on my blog. And I, at the time, I thought there was some glaring error in that letter, but I can't remember what I thought it was now. So I'll have to read it again, which I haven't managed to do so far.
Okay, well, that's, and then we were talking about America not necessarily planning to use Israel as a colonial outpost because the Jews were the ones asking for it, but just being opportunistic and taking the opportunity to basically use Israel, as a way to control the Middle East.
Yes, there's a video of Biden that's gone viral, I think, in the last 12 hours, I think, and he was saying if Israel didn't exist, we would have to invent it. And I think it was Biden, but anyway, it was some American politician who was bald. And I remember this being said before, because obviously America wants to keep an eye on the oil supply of the world, and having Israel smack bang in the middle of the Middle East is a good way of doing it. And there have been 2 videos already explaining why things are as they are now. I mean, there's been a lot of history as well, because there was Rabbi Kahane who did actually get quite a lot of support in the 1980s, and he wanted Israel to be a proper ethno-state, as in a theocracy, and he was saying, we're going to kick the Arabs out, and he got assassinated. And I've spoken to a few people about it, and they were kind of really horrified, and they didn't want to talk about it. And the suspicion, the finger of suspicion was pointed at either the CIA or Mossad. Because, the presumption was that there were lots of people, secular Jews in Israel, who would hate the idea of living under a Torah theocracy. But at the time, Rabbi Kahane was getting a lot of support in America as well as in the Knesset. And I guess the Americans didn't want, Israel to become a Torah theocracy, and I'm sure it doesn't want Israel to become a Sharia theocracy, because I think they have this feeling that if ever the Jews in Israel said, all right, we'll live under Sharia, we're going to be good Jews now, they have a suspicion that they'll find themselves following suit, and that is what they want to avoid. So I think that's why this, trying to make the Jews and Arabs fight in order to provoke, God knows what, This actually reminds me of I was reading about serial killers and their psychology and their they get very excited, obviously, when they plan a murder, commit a murder, hide the corpse and all that, and it's a kind of high for them, and their serial killing is this desire to repeat this kind of intense living, and I think if countries can be equated with personalities, it suggests to me that America is going through this sort of serial killer phase again,
Give me
because
one
they
second,
think.
Claire. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
So, well, that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. And actually, I haven't even, what's the word, shared it properly. So, I should say, how shall I title it? Talking to Vincent Bruno. No, what did I say? Telling Vincent Bruno. No, telling Jews and Gentiles that the Messiah ain't coming and they have to make do with me. That's one. Okay. And I think it's appropriate to make this an announcement on Vincent's channel, because Vincent has been helpfully saying, you should sell secular Quranism with, a list of cults. He wants me to become a cult leader, or not quite, but there's some convoluted idea. But Vincent thinks that secular Quranism would sell better, attached to some cult.
Yes. And it did, and I got you a new subscriber.
And then I thought, okay, if I'm going to turn this whole thing into a religion, I'll have to, weave a narrative. And this is a narrative I've decided to weave, which is that the Messiah ain't coming, and unfortunately, I'm sorry to be so disappointing. You'll have to make do with me. I know stuff because, I spotted way back in 2014 that this letter to America from Bin Laden was significant. I had the foresight to cut and paste it and put it on my blog so people can easily read it. So this shows foresight and wisdom, and for that reason, you might wish to accept me as your quasi messiah, your kind of I don't know what's the word for it, messiah substitute, and then listen to me and do what I say, or at the very least understand my ideas for how to solve the problems. And this morning it just came to me, all these ideas about why the Abrahamic moral system is the best system to solve our problems, because if we believe something, we will act on our beliefs, and we can pretend we don't believe anything, something that we say we believe in or whatever. I mean, a good example, Vincent, if it would be, if I said, I really hate you. So if I said I really hated you, people would be a little surprised to see me streaming with you every day, because it is not consistent with hating somebody. I should be blocking you. I should be, saying terrible things about you, but I'm streaming with you every day. Or I could say, oh, Brinton, I really love you, but say mean things about you, and, hate on you, and, be mean to you in public. So I think, fundamentally, we can't really disguise our behaviour, because in the end it comes through. So if I'm saying to you, Vincent, I don't want to kill you, but in the meantime I'm shooting bullets, at your head, you would know I'm lying. And using this rule, you can basically spot a hypocrite, whenever, a lot of people pretend to believe in stuff they don't believe in. And of course, Christianity is the perfect example. And I'm afraid it's kind of traumatized the Western man. He's just been this kind of psycho the whole time. I mean, don't you think? It's sort of you can imagine, all these people, in the Middle Ages or Dark Ages or whenever it was, and somebody would question the Trinity, and then he'd find himself being burnt at the stake, and everybody would be forced to watch him. I mean, what kind of impression does this create? I think most people will get it not to question the Trinity. And maybe they also want to make their children believe and threaten their children if they show any signs of questioning the Trinity, and then this might extend to being mean to people who deny the Trinity, such as the Muslims and the Jews, and anti-Semitism might be a kind of collective word for both Jews and Muslims. I know at the moment people think it only applies to Jews, but I think it was an ideological term used by Christians to the other two branches of the Abrahamic religions who deny the Trinity. So actually, Arabs are also included because both Jews and Arabs are a Semitic race.
Well,
But maybe now they've got a new word called Islamophobia.
not Ashkenazi Jews, and if they are Semitic, they're very little Semitic. So,
But I suppose originally they came from there, and there'd been some discussion about, well, you might look a bit olive-skinned and dark-eyed, but maybe if you lived in Europe for ages and centuries and centuries, maybe your skin tone might change, even though you never marry out. And I think that there has been some anthropological discussion about whether this happens or not. Have you heard of this theory?
yeah, but DNA shows that they're mostly European. I mean, we can tell by their DNA, and I mean, I think that the thing about the Khazarian theory is pretty much solved, or at least there's enough evidence to make people take pause because, yeah,
I
it's
don't think
just
it matters. I don't think it matters at all because, when you think that, if we get murdered, it would be by somebody we know, and usually somebody we share a home or a bed with. So, that there's no point sort of, pretending, oh, we're going to, be murdered by illegal immigrants and whatever. I mean, I'm sure it still is the case that if we are, if we do get murdered, it will be by somebody who knows us. And I'm sure statistically, I actually haven't been able to find this online, but statistically, spouses are most likely to murder each other. Or, parents might, honor kill their children, and children might, hurry the deaths of their parents along in order to inherit, and all kinds of things. In fact, there are these terms that I think came from ancient Greece, which is patricide, matricide, fratricide, sororicide, filicide. I mean, there are already, 5 terms for killing, your parents and your siblings and your children. And it seems that, the ancient Greeks were doing it the whole time. I mean, they've done it often, they did it often enough to, come up with those words. So I think we kind of have to accept that statistically, if we are murdered, we will be, we would be murdered by people that we know, and usually, family members. And therefore, trying to identify people by their race and thinking, oh, they've got the same skin tone as me, they come from the same country or whatever. It's stupid. It's just stupid because, you never know what they're going to do. I mean, it might be your spouse and you might have married them and had sex with them, but you might statistically, be, well, you are statistically more likely to be murdered by somebody that you've had sex with. And so this is something, we have to bear in mind. And I know that the human mind thinks, oh, it'd be so easy if we could see, just by the look of a person that they're the enemy. And, if they were, obviously different from them, like a totally, different skin color. And then we can, shoot them like we would shoot space invaders or something, you know. And I think that this is a kind of, understandable desire to simplify, who is a friend and who is a foe. But actually, we are faced with the idea that the enemy is within, which actually the Jews call the evil inclination. And it's, a lot of Jewish ideas are very useful. I hate this sort of really childish Christian idea of, oh, Satan is, this creature with cloven hooves and a tail and a pitchfork and, rubbish like that. And it's nothing of the sort. It's just us being evil and ignoring truth and, all the kinds of things that we do, or just allow our governments to do in our name. And yesterday came to me again this idea that, one death is a tragedy. If it's the death of somebody we love, it's terrible. But a million is a statistic, and we just turn the page. We think, oh well, people die every day. Or those kind of people, well, they're always killing themselves or each other or something like that. So I think we just need to know how to identify the enemy and even to recognize what, when we break the rules. And now, people don't even think that there has to be any rules to follow. And we go back to your interest in the no-hide laws, Vincent, and I'm saying, if you didn't hate Jews, you'd think, oh, it's fair enough, or the no-hide laws. I guess many people who don't believe in God might think, I don't see the problem with idolatry, I don't see the problem with blasphemy. And I actually said, okay, so there are actually no punishments in the Quran for idolatry and blasphemy. But this also means you have to choose the Quran as your moral guide and your book of rules. So either way, I win the argument, but in our post-truth society, nobody really cares if you win the argument. And that is another sign of death. It's, for an animal, animals kind of really need to know the truth. Like, is it safe to go out? Is this, they can't lie to themselves, but we can, because we're human and, we're kind of protected for a bit until our civilization collapses. And I think a lot of neurosis is holding two different ideas at the same time. And this is what actually drives us mad. So I think a lot of Westerners think they still want to think of themselves as good people, but their government is so evil.
Yeah, people obviously can lie to themselves, and animals don't.
Do you think you're a good person, Vincent? You do have evil ideas, and I'm sure I'm not the only person to say that your ideas are evil.
I don't know what a good person is, to be honest, because plenty of people say that. People will tell you you're not a good person because you got a tattoo. People will tell you you're not a good person because you drink. People will tell you you're not a good person because you have oral sex. What is a good person?
Well, if you have a list of rules, then you can sort of say, well, I break this rule, but I keep the other one. Or you can do a test, right? Out of these 7 laws, which ones do I break? Does this mean I believe in God or don't believe in God? Or, whatever it is. So, it would be useful for individuals and countries to have, at least an official moral system, so people will know, oh, we're not supposed to kill, steal, commit sexual offences, and then we have to, define what constitutes sexual offences. I mean, we need to have these conversations that I guess are linked to political philosophy, and the media is not helping because it pointedly refuses to discuss these things because it actually doesn't want us to think too much about these things. It is, even the Muslims, it's like hardly any of them have read the Quran in their own language. They don't know what the hell it says. And so when you talk about this verse or that verse, they just look blankly at you. And because they think going to the imam and being given their imam's view on the Quran is good enough, and so we just have to accept that not a lot of people, Muslim or not, like reading scripture. And I think this has probably been encouraged by their governments, caliphates and people like that, because it's just easier to not let them know their rights. So I think fallen Muslim empires have made a point of that. You just think, oh, you don't need to read the book. It's a bit long, isn't it? You just listen to the imam and you'll be okay. It might trouble you if you read too much, or whatever.
I forgot to tell you, Quranism with the Q is an official entry in Wikipedia, and there's like hundreds of thousands of Quranists around the earth that reject Hadith.
Yeah, but they're treated as heretics.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew a Pakistani woman, and then she said, I'm not going to be a Quranist anymore, because she was so hated on by her fellow Pakistani Muslims.
Yeah, it's been corrupted with Hadith, and they just it's been corrupted with Hadith. Not that it wasn't corrupt to start with, but
But I think that, okay, so if I were in charge, what I'd do? I'd have this category of Muslim called a qualified Muslim, i.e. somebody who has read the Quran from beginning to end and passed an exam in it. And I think that would, make people more aware of their rights. And give them some kind of status incentive for doing so. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Muslim governments will say, no, we don't want that, particularly Saudi Arabia, because, Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarchy. And I've spoken to a Saudi or two, and they're terrified. It's like, can you just delete this conversation, this space we had? And I thought, well, we didn't even say anything, so please, can it be deleted, please? And they're terrified because they do, their scholars do get thrown in prison for having the wrong interpretation, and I mean they're really not encouraged to read it, because then they might want to interpret it or ask questions, and fundamentally, the whole thing about Islam is that it rejects monarchy, and a lot of Muslims don't even realize it. They like their kings or their sultans, as they call them, and it's like, no, but the whole idea of a caliph is that a caliph is supposed to govern according to Quranic principles, and then the question arose, like, how do you know when you can remove him? How long do they stay? And the answer is that you can remove a caliph as soon as he doesn't govern according to Quranic principles. And this was sort of known until, the Muslims just sort of treated their caliph as a king, and that king had a harem, and we know the Ottoman Emperor had an imperial harem. There's a Wikipedia entry about that too. And I guess, because he broke the 4 wives max rule, his empire collapsed. They break their own rules all the time. But then, I mean, I don't think, liberals can sort of say, oh, these Muslims break their rules, but we never break their rules. The liberals don't even have their own rules. I mean, there is no sort of official, handbook of liberalism. So it's always, somebody from the Burke Foundation or the government telling you, what it is, and then contradicting himself, and then, wanting you to shut up about it when you want to ask further questions. I'm afraid that's kind of how it goes. And that is why, for practical reasons, forget, wanting to get to heaven and all that, you just need a book, that whose words people don't argue over, because the Bible is quite okay. Even the New Testament is like that. There's a book of Thomas or something, that the few Dead Sea Scrolls and whatever, which should or shouldn't have been included in the Bible and all that, and they can't even agree. So I think, I mean, the reason is quite simple. Maybe they're sort of, incriminating or inconvenient, scripture, parts of scripture that the government doesn't want us reading. But I think, that is a problem. And the Muslims, they have these people called Hafiz, I think, and they're basically people who can start learning the Quran from beginning to end and can recite it. I mean, they still do it because the fear is that there will be some horrible, evil Muslim ruler who wants to redact the Quran. And because of the tradition of the Hafiz, they, even if they did, then, there would still be living people with the correct, words that cannot be deleted, redacted, etc. So basically, I'm saying, it's just necessary to protect our rights. Only forget God, or whatever. But I'm saying, the fact that it's supposed to be from God, kind of raises its status, from anything that we as individuals might write. And our discussions about cult leaders have been really helpful, because talking to you, in my mind, there's a sort of a DIY kit to form your own cult. So we were saying, you were saying earlier, we have to have a few principles, 5, 7, 13, whatever, and then you create a belief system. That's what you said about the spooky hocus pocus narrative. And then you've got your religion. I mean, obviously you have to sort of make it sound nice. Maybe hire some writer to make it read like poetry, etc. And then you've got your thing. Except that the Muslims have said, oh no, you can't just create your own cult because according to our tradition, Muhammad is the last messenger, and the Quran is the last revelation. So nobody can top our thing.
Well, I mean, my contention, I always bring up these stupid alt-right people. They just talk about problems. It's always the same. I hate the philosophy. I hate going on streams where it's like, how can men destroy fem, or not how, I'm trying to think. It's all like philosophical and about problems and like fixing economics, fixing the gender war, these types of things, but they're not rules. They're not like a plan. Nobody has a plan of action, and you can't just win on belief alone. Like, you can't just set a rule of belief, like, I believe in the Trinity, and I believe Jesus is God, and I believe this, and I believe that. No, you need some kind of principles that can be enforced.
Well, exactly. So that's why you tell children, because when they start being able to talk, they'll say, "I want ice cream. I want to go to the park," or whatever it is that they want, and then you have to tell them that they're not they can't start a sentence beginning with "I want," and because that's when an adult does that, it's wish list politics. I want to kick out all these immigrants, or whatever, or the Jews, or the Muslims, or whatever. There should be a distinction between wish list politics and roadmap politics, and I've been trying to tell people, and it's almost impossible to get from them, to get them to ask, the obvious next question. It's like, yes, it's all very well, Claire, this is your plan. How are you going to do it? They never even, most of them, and quite a few of them are political activists who I've known for ages. And they never even ask, like, well, how are you going to get it? How are you going to do it? They don't. And that is why I find it so frustrating.
Like,
But I mean, occasionally I find people who do ask the logical next question, but very rarely.
Teo Falali says, here's a plan. Go to church, marry your girlfriend, and raise virtuous children. What are virtuous children? What are they? All right, see, this is the difference between Christianity and Islam and Noahidism. Virtuous children, what? If you want them to go to church, you're interested in proper belief, not proper action, especially if you're a Christian, because if you don't take proper action, you're still forgiven. You don't get in trouble either in this world or the next if you don't take proper action. As long as you believe Jesus is God, then you're a good person. And then, that's your way of fixing the earth. You can't fix the earth with proper belief. It takes proper action.
Yeah, because Buddhism has this saying, right thought, right speech, right action, which I think says it all, Obviously, you have to rely on correct information, and then from the correct information, you have to exercise sound logic about what to do, and then you might get the result you want. I mean, people don't even think like that. It's like, oh, I don't care, it's just my lived experience. It's like, but the Trinity, it doesn't even make sense. Oh, but it's my tradition. We believed in it for, and it's like, and then then I try to say, look, you're Christian, you're supposed to accept the Ten Commandments. What are the first two? What did God say about idolatry and blasphemy? And then, there's a kind of blank, and then they kind of slink away. And this is it. I mean, this is how all my, attempts to make the point have got me. I'm talking to patients who are basically, neurotic or psychotic or in a catatonic state. You cannot actually even reason with them, because the shutters come down and they just don't engage anymore, and they kind of fade away. It's like, well, if God exists and he told you not to do these things, what do you think is going to happen to you if you do these things, and you've been doing them for nearly 2,000 years, and you show no signs of repentance? It's like, I mean, I literally don't get a coherent response.
Well,
I mean, isn't that your experience too?
Well, I think that it doesn't matter whether or not you believe in God and all of these things if there's earthly punishments that are coming from other humans for what your transgressions are. And you don't need God when there's a punishment. The Christians need God because there are no punishments on earth for their sins, so they just need to be worried about hellfire, but that's not enough to stop people from doing bad things.
Yeah, because they go to church and, they have this sort of milquetoast pastor saying everybody's going to heaven and Jesus loves you and all that crap. And so I guess they would be confused. They'd be thinking, oh, God is merciful and forgives everything, and so they think they've gotten away with their adultery and sodomy and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, look, there is this thing called opportunity cost. Are you familiar with that concept, Vincent?
Yes. No, opportunity cost, go ahead.
Okay, so it's a term that I learned from economics, and it's basically saying, you've got a certain sum of money. If you spend it on your rent rather than something else, well, you've just used it up and you don't have it anymore. And obviously you should be making sensible decisions and not gambling your income away when you could be saving it or paying off your debtors, your creditors, and so on and so forth. So you have, because we have finite resources and a finite lifespan, and opportunities don't always come our way, we should put ourselves in a position where we are in a position to benefit from any commercial opportunities that come our way, and that require savings and just having the money to do stuff. When somebody says, "Oh, I've got this investment. Do you want to invest in it? And if we profit, then you can share the profit." It's this sort of idea. So opportunity cost is saying, if you hadn't done this silly thing, you would been done the wise thing, and you would have profited rather than ended up in jail, or a similar idea. So while we can't actually quantify opportunity cost, you can think of yourself of it as, well, if only I hadn't done this silly thing, I would not be in jail. And so you have to go back to link the fact that you're in jail, or about to be murdered by some gangster, to all the decisions that led you to your particular place and how you could have avoided them. I mean that's, I guess, a way of learning from our mistakes. And obviously, countries and empires have similar accounts to learn from. And I'm afraid a lot of people won't learn from their mistakes. They won't even acknowledge it as a mistake. And the British are the worst, because they can't acknowledge the fact that they shouldn't have fought the last two world wars, and they only fought it to thwart Germany. But now, after the war, after the Second World War, they wove this narrative of, we sacrificed our global empire to save the Jews. That's what we did. We're so noble, and we saved the Jews. And I think the Americans just came along and said, that's a good one, that's a good one. And now that because you've destroyed yourself, Britain, we're going to take over your burden. We're going to be protecting the Jews in Israel. And that's what they've done. And that is a narrative. That's why Holocaust denial becomes even more of a crime the further we are from World War II. I mean, you would have thought, if something bad happened to you a long, long time ago, over time it would, you'd be more able to talk about it. But actually, no, you can't talk about it. Jews can't even discuss their own Holocaust because of the trouble that, Benjamin Netanyahu got himself into for talking about the Mufti of Jerusalem and the transfer agreement, and even Rabbi Misraki, who was only talking about Jewish identity. He was saying, the Nuremberg laws made the definition of a Jew unacceptably wide, and included not just people whose mothers were Jews, but who had even just one grandparent who was a Jew, and therefore if you divide 6 million by 4, you only get about 1 million. And he said it, and everybody went ape at him, and he found himself accused of Holocaust denial and had to apologize. I mean, I don't think anti-Semites know this story, because I think it's pretty outrageous. So I think the Western media now is just bigging up the nastiness of the Nazis, to make themselves sort of more protective, and they've kind of made the Jews think, oh, we need your protection with all your legislation, and this makes the more stupid of them accuse everyone of being a Nazi, and obviously they if they can just win their argument by saying, oh, you're a Nazi, and I had ancestors who died in the Holocaust, they're going to make themselves hated. But then it's a kind of self-reinforcing hatred. It's like, yeah, the American government wants Jews to feel scared, so it can go, oh, we'll protect you. Don't be afraid of these Nazi white nationalist types. We're going to stamp on them and whatever. And this is how they divide and rule.
Look, I mean, as soon as you put Jews in the equation, you're going to get in trouble, and you're going to lose, and the Jews are going to win. And I mean, look, nobody helps the Jews and gets away with it. Nobody gives to the Jews and gets away with it. As soon as you even help them or get involved with them, you lose.
But you can't help it. You're all obsessed
Yes, you
about
can.
Jews.
You can. Well, I'm not.
Oh, come on. You're known as an
No,
anti-Semite.
but I'm not obsessed in that I want to like give to them and send them to Israel and glorify them.
Well, I mean, obviously you need your colony peopled, and you have to people them with Jews, right?
Okay, well,
You,
I don't need a colony in the Middle East. I wish we had just never gotten involved with those people.
well, I mean, things might happen to your economy if you don't get that cheap oil. But I think American can somehow get by. Um, But the thing is, I mean, obviously, if everybody became secular coroners, then they'll all be sort of reasonable people, and then they can, buy oil and whatever. I mean, it's like if you're a Gulf state with lots of oil, you're not going to be, sitting on your oil. You'll be wanting to sell it, right? You're not going to be drinking it all by yourself. So I think the paranoia of the Western powers is being deliberately stoked. We are expected to hate each other. It's like, yeah, and we'll keep importing all these immigrants to get them really scared, and then they'll complain about it, and we'll get them for hate speech, and then they'll hate each other even more, and we'll just and then the stupid ones will just keep doing their repeat their hate speech, and we'll stamp on them, and they'll blame Jews. They won't blame the government. They'll blame Jews or Muslims. I think that has always been their evil plan. And that is how you operate a system of divide and rule.
Mm.
Oh, I've, I've,
Yeah,
I've
and
received an invitation to lunch. Well, I guess he can talk to me on Google Chat if he's serious about it. Because Conops is in London.
oh, he's in London. Don't see Conops. Conops is an asshole.
Well, I've actually got a stream at 3 that has been arranged. Why does he want to talk to me? I'm just I'm just the what was it? I was going. Okay, so this dream is about telling people that the Messiah ain't coming and they have to make do with me, and I don't know what to call myself just yet. The Messiah substitute. Yeah, that's what I could be calling myself, I suppose. So tomorrow, Conops wants to give me, the Messiah substitute, lunch.
I don't know. I think that would be just annoying. And I'm sure he would be better behaved if face to face and in public. But he's just
Well,
it
yeah.
just his whole shtick with me is stop talking about the Noahide laws. Why do you care? There's nothing going on, and it's just repetitive over and over and over. First of all, there is something going on. Secondly, it is just a topic of interest. I mean, like, what if I was interested in Seventh Day Adventist, a church, and I was just interested in it and its history and its leaders and its teachings and its effect on the world? I don't think he would care so much. Nobody would care if I was going on and on and on about Mormons. You know what I mean? Nobody would care. And I could
Yeah,
go on negatively about Mormons because there are ideas. I have to look into these more, but there are ideas that the Mormon Church wants to take over the world. Let's look up Mormon dominionism. Let's see if that's a thing.
but it's, all these ideologies, they want to take over the world. I mean, liberalism wants to take over the world. I mean, it calls itself the liberal order. And so does communism. I mean, it's like they all want to take over the world. I mean, to be honest, I have plans for global domination too. Global secular Quranism would be better for everybody in the world than global liberal democracy or global homo. So I don't think we should just go, oh, that's such a terrible, scary thing. It's like it's only natural and inevitable and logical that you know yeah, it reminds me of I mean the way that the Chinese would refer to themselves. It's like, yeah, so it's quite sinocentric to say we are the Middle Kingdom, and then there is this other Chinese expression called "all under the world," meaning technically, all under all under the Chinese the Chinese Empire. So this idea is not exactly new. I think we're all, I guess every age we get a bit shocked by it, but I mean, if we could, you know, explore and settle on planets and solar systems and colonize galaxies, we would want universal domination.
Well, I'm just reading about Mormons originally wanted to change the Constitution and prayed for the end of the United States and stuff like that, but that's all
Oh, did
changed.
they? Did they? What was wrong with the United States Constitution as far as
Well,
they were
I'm just looking
concerned?
at this now. I'm not reading. It's just, well, it's just comments. It's not like an official. Let's see. Why do people think Mormons want to take over the world?
Because of their polygamy.
Okay,
So
wait,
I'm
hold
going to
on.
be dealing with Crash Bandicoot's point. He's saying there can only be regional domination in our time, Miss Claire. No universal movement like communism exists today. And I'm saying, of course, there's global domination because there have already been three global empires, so we can aspire to that even if we don't have it. And I'm saying if all the countries adopted secular Quranism, then they wouldn't be so warlike and they'd be far more reasonable with each other and share the world's resources more fairly, so there would be no war. Some of you may have heard the expression no justice, no peace. So, I mean, if yeah, you may not agree. I mean, maybe China and India might not agree, but I mean, I have suggestions for secular Quranism with Chinese characteristics and Indian characteristics, and I could be a kind of consultant for any country who wants to adopt secular Quranism. And it is in a way a kind of money making scheme, certainly for lawyers. because I have all sorts of associated ideas that people might even find fun and entertaining, and and I want to I want people to know, particularly people like Vincent, who feels threatened about secular Quranism, is that I think gay people would feel a bit more assured if Vincent became a secular Quranist, and then he'd get all of the attention because he'd be invited to all kinds of shows, and to explain why he's a secular Quranist, and he could dine off it, and he would get the recognition and validation that he really wants, and it would be actually a good thing for his country, and he would be quite useful in settling the fears of the LGBT people. And the other thing is if there are any unmarried parents who'd like to be secular Quranists, they'd also be very welcome. I mean, I'm not going to be punishing anyone, any unmarried parent, because that would be unfair. So supposing we all became secular Quranists yesterday, there would be a period of grace in that people who were already pregnant but not married, it's like, okay, I'm not going to punish you, I'm going to give you a year's period of grace. So if you become an unmarried parent anytime between within the year of the adoption of secular Quranism, you're not going to be given 100 lashes, but after that you will be. So that would be a way of managing it, and then I have a register of repentant unmarried parents. So if you want, think, oh, I've become an unmarried parent, I'm sorry, I don't want, I repent, and it's like, yeah, you can go on the register, and you'd go on it, and then you'd be better off than unrepentant unmarried parents. So I'm kind of creating I guess a kind of moral hierarchy even amongst unmarried parents, and this would be a way of dividing and ruling all these groups to give them something that they might want, status or whatever, and keep them, what's the word? Keep them happy, yeah. Or kind of accept them, include them. So secular Quranism is certainly inclusive, but it has a very no-nonsense approach. And I guess it would be quite nice to explain it to Conobs tomorrow at lunch. I wonder where he's going to take me. The Ritz, the Dorchester, some fashionable, expensive London restaurant. There are no Dutch restaurants, are they? Are there? I mean, I don't even know what Dutch cuisine is. It's just all hard cheese.
Yeah, I think there's not that much. I mean, Dutch and German and British. What is Scandinavian food? Swedish meatballs? Like, I don't even know what Scandinavian food is.
And salted fish. And I've heard stories of young Scandinavians they're all who've heard stories of being Vikings, and they want to be Vikings, and their parents and aunts and uncles tell them they have to eat this sort of really disgusting salted fish, and they try it once and they never want to be Vikings again.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain areas of the world that just don't have like a very appealing cuisine. Well, Britain is always made fun of for their cuisine because it's all, first of all, everything in British food is brown. Everything in British food is meat, and I feel like British eat lots of things. Don't they eat lots of things like liver and kidney and?
Well, there's steak and kidney pie. And I mean the traditional foods, I suppose. I mean they're still there, and roasts. So, I mean, Sunday roast is basically, roast potatoes with roast beef or lamb or,
Yeah, it's potatoes, meat, some vegetables. Everything's brown and stews and bread. And whenever I like, even, I mean, Irish pubs kind of have shepherd's pie. What do Irish pubs have? I
same
mean,
kind of food, really. Stews. Irish
yeah,
stew.
stews. But the Irish have curry. The Irish love curry.
So do the British. I mean, I'm sure I read some food statistics saying, curry is eaten more in Britain than even fish and chips that you associate with, British fast food.
Yeah, they love curry. The Irish love curry. And yeah,
Yeah,
curry,
I mean,
curry.
they like Thai food too. I mean, there are lots of kind of Thai restaurants attached to pubs and things.
Yeah, they have their stuff. They're whatever but they're not known for being like having elaborate food like India or Asia or Japan or that have like a national cuisine or Vietnam and all these different countries that have their own really robust diet or cuisine. Even Ethiopia has like a robust cuisine. And but the British really don't have a robust cuisine.
Yeah,
Carrots and carrots, I love carrot top soup.
carrot top. Did
You've
you just
never
mean
had
carrot
carrot top
soup?
soup?
No, I mean I've had carrot soup with
Carrot top
coriander.
soup is when you take the carrot tops and you cook them but you need the carrot tops that have the green. It's when you grow your own carrots, the green stem that's above the ground when you pull it up and then you cut it off. If you keep the stem on there and then you boil it together, it's so good.
Oh no, I've never tried that. Oh, so it's actually what, sweeter than just carrot soup on its own? Because
I don't know how to
people just top and tail it or something. So it
I
never
don't know
occurred
how
to
to
me to cook the
carrot top soup. Let's see how to make it. Hold on, let's look at this.
well, actually, if you buy it in supermarket, it doesn't come with the top.
No, it doesn't. You have to get it. You have to get it. Carrot top soup. Hold on. Well, the way I make it. Oh, ew! They're making it look nasty. This is not how I make my carrot top soup. Hold on. Well, I don't make carrot top soup this way. I make carrot top soup. I don't blend it. This is all. Oh, wait. Let's see. This carrot top soup.
Well, give me your recipe and maybe I'll try and make it one day.
Um. Yeah, you just cut the end off. Here, carrot top soup recipe. Okay, it looks like they blended. I don't blend mine. I don't. I leave the carrots and the stems pretty much the way they are. I pretty much don't. I don't blend it like they're blending it, and then I just eat the carrot tops and the leafy green part, and it's so good. I absolutely love it.
Oh, very rarely do you see
Carrot tops.
carrots with its top still attached.
Yes. Yeah, no, this if you garden your own carrots like I used to, then you'll find them.
Mm-hmm.
No new golf. I'm not a financial advisor from Central Illinois. Zero Infinity Life says hello to us.
You're right.
But
Oh, Zero Infinity is there. Hello, Zero
yeah,
Infinity.
who is Zero Infinity?
I think he's a Ukrainian who's a bit crazy, but he used to have a channel.
Yeah. I don't know who New Golf is. He's new.
Oh, he was the one who told me about I think he told me about the freeze of the Prophet Muhammad in the U.S. Supreme Court. I think I heard of that from him first. If that's correct,
The
Zero.
what? The what of Prophet Muhammad?
In the U.S. Supreme Court, there's a freeze in the interior. I haven't been, so I don't know.
What's a
I think in the
freeze?
West Wall there is a freeze on Muhammad because
What's a
the
freeze? What's a
founding. It's basically a kind of hem with pictures, of a lot of lawmakers like Confucius and Moses and characters like that from history and mythology. They're not mythology. Hammurabi, all these historical figures who are known for making law. There is a frieze of these characters in or historical figures in the U.S. Supreme Court, and I think it was Zero who first told me about it. So, Crash Bandicoot says, as a movement of young men, Islam has a certain dynamism and is threatening today. However, its assumptions are too regional. You cannot collect together jobless Germans or Poles, for instance, in an Islamic context. You can oppose modernity, retreat into Islam, but it cannot be constructed as a movement from the centre of modernization. It cannot promise a better age, unlike communism, which was able to for a while. Well, why do you say that, Crash Bandicoot? You've never tried it. Give it a go. Oh yes, so Zero says he is Lithuanian, he's not crazy, and Muhammad is in the Supreme Court because the Constitution is based off of Muslim law. That's what Zero says. Well, I'm saying that the First Amendment is supported by Chapter 2, verse 256.
Is Zero Muslim?
No, he's Lithuanian.
Yeah, well, he could still be Muslim, but
I mean, a lot of people, I guess if they have any intellectual curiosity, even if they hate Islam, they would have to read it, right? It's kind of, in a way, intellectually obligatory to read it. Because, people just talk about it the whole time. How can you not read it? I mean, how can you not read it after 9/11, right?
the Quran.
Mind you, it took me a while to read it myself, considering I only read it in 2006.
The Quran.
Yes. And you refused to read it.
I read part of it, but we went through the laws, and if I want to be a secular Quranist, I don't need to know about going to hell. I don't need to know about God. I don't need to know the stories. I don't need to know that Muhammad did something under a palm tree. I just have the laws. Just give me the dry, dead laws. I don't want to. I tried reading that shit, and I got sick and tired of being told I'm going to hell every 3 seconds. And the laws are so disparate apart from each other and not like written in any chronological fashion that it's just not pleasant to read. But I already know the laws, so I don't need to read the fucking Quran.
Okay. I mean, I just think, um, well, I guess I'm just trying to encourage people to read it, and I found it quite a surprisingly pleasant read, and I don't remember. Yeah, I know, it does go on about hell and stuff, but then I didn't take it seriously, so I guess I just skimmed over it. It didn't really bother me, and I was kind of focused on looking for the do's and don'ts of the Quran, and yeah, I guess if you do, it depends on your I guess your state of mind when you read it.
Well,
But I mean, the God in okay, I was going to
You
say
still
that God in the Quran sounds much friendly than God in the Torah. That's all I was going to say.
Claire, you should have just distilled your laws and should have just just distill the laws and that's it. And then people don't need to read the goddamn Quran. I thought the point of secular Quranism is that you don't need all the rest of it.
Yeah, you don't need the rest of it, but I can't just say, "Oh, this is my interpretation. You do it," because okay, my whole plan, if supposing the American government says, "Okay, we're going to do your secular Quranism thing. How are you going to do it?" And I would say, "Well, actually, the justices of the Supreme Court would have to read their Quran, and then they would have to identify the commandments of Allah capable of being made into legislation, and they have to list these verses and number them, and they all have to do it. I think are they 7 or 9 of them or something?" And this is how I would do it for the UK Supreme Court, or any country with a Supreme Court. And I know that the Muslims are a bit funny about it, because I said, isn't there a list, a whole list of laws in the Quran after 1400 years? Haven't you got it? And they go a bit vague and say, about 500 of them. But we can't seem to get an exact number that we can all agree on. So I guess it's about 500 of them. And obviously I have to let the Supreme Court of these different countries do it themselves. Otherwise I'll say, "Oh, you're just imposing it on us, and we don't want it anymore." It's like, no, you guys have to do it. And so I don't feel I have to do it for them. And even if I did, they'll just reject it. So I'm saying everybody has to, because people can't really agree. We can only get, a group of people to read it, and then identify the commandments, the do's and don'ts, and put it into legislation, and that's how it's going to be done. And then obviously, any existing law that goes against these Quranic principles would have to be repealed. And if you need some that need to be need to become legislation, then you have to do that. But it's a slow organic process, and everyone will have to be involved. And it's not me just sort of saying, "Oh, here's a list, and this is off you go." People have to read it in a way that shows that they understand what they need to do, and as you say, they have to ignore the stories, but they also they still have to read it, because only when you read it can you say, is this a commandment of Allah, or is this a story, or is it a promise, or is it a threat? And I'm only interested in the do's and don'ts, i.e. the commandments of Allah capable of being made into legislation, and this is how you're supposed to be doing it.
Claire, I think you're in big trouble because, oh God, because people are dumb, and you're basically talking to right-wing people, and right-wing people are into esoteric bullshit, like all the they're into the occult, they're into spirituality, they're into correct beliefs, and these things are more important to them than a set of rules, and they consider that to be so Jewy. You know what I mean? Like, because even in Christianity, Judaizers, anyone who tried to enforce Old Testament law was a Judaizer. And so anything that has to do with law is like, is a problem for them. And
Okay, but I'm not really trying to get their approval because they are, well, looked down on. I mean, ideally, I would be selling this to the political establishment, and I know that at the moment they don't want to hear it because they're just happy following orders from America, and but anyway, I'm just explaining how it is to be done. I mean, obviously with these alt-right people, they're not even going to listen to me, and they'll just keep saying, "I want this, I wish for that," and have no idea how to bring it about, and then argue with each other about, what it is the right or wrong thing to wish for. And I'll have to leave these, silly men to fight amongst themselves. I mean, the people I want to meet, to talk to, and I'm very grateful that you're around, is somebody like you. You're actually, thinking of practical things and, who I should be talking to. But I know that, the top people are not listening, or they're too afraid to even show an interest. But I mean, it pleases me that there are, some YouTubers who are kind of echoing my ideas and saying, these Jews, that they're just going to be like the Ukrainians after the American Empire have finished with them.
Well, look, the Noahites are having the same problem in that people are coming out of Christianity and the law is not enough for them. They need spirituality, they need nonsense, they need garbage, and the rabbis are placating them by making up holidays and just shit for them. And the Noahites, a lot of them are saying the law is enough. But, maybe they're going to be outnumbered. I mean, probably, to be honest with you, I'm upset about it. I think I would find a secular, non-theistic Noahide movement to be a lot more interesting, in my opinion. That's more interesting to me than reading about fucking spirituality on these Noahide, not Noahide blogs, on these rabbinical blogs where, yeah, with these rabbinical blogs where, the rabbis are trying to placate Christians coming out of Christianity. And the thing is that you're going to have the same problem, but you're refusing to do what the rabbis are doing, which is developing a spiritual system for them. And just people prefer that. I'm sorry, even Muslims, when they're on, I'm sorry, Muslims, rarely do I see them on YouTube listing out the laws of the Quran. Like, they want to talk about making people happy and how Islam makes you happy and or they want to talk about how the Torah actually prophesies Islam and things like that, and why the Quran supersedes the Torah. And, they want to talk about things like that. They don't want to talk about the dead, dry law, but that's the most important part.
Yeah, and I can't get them to talk about it because they're all kind of stuck in their own, little grooves. But I think the Quran should be tackled in a more Jewish way, because, I mean, I think if you're born a Jew and you take your rules seriously, you already have the makings of a lawyer in you. And I know that rabbis are kind of divided into, the rabbis who specialize in the halakha, and the ones who, like the spiritual stuff. So even amongst rabbis, there is a separation. But what I have learned from these rabbis is that you can really simplify it. I mean, I do it really, which is that Jews are supposed to really, 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 really believe that God exists, and they have this principle of emunah and bitachon, which I think I mentioned to you yesterday. Emunah is belief or knowledge that God exists, and bitachon is trust that He will dispose of affairs in a just and wise way. And you obviously, if you're a Jew, you have to accept that even if you don't like it, God means well, and if you can't see the point of it, perhaps eventually you will, and you're not supposed to question it. And therefore, in a way, it simplifies the whole process of spirituality. It's like, I don't know if you know this, but Jews are supposed to thank God even for misfortune. Have we discussed this?
Well, I didn't know they were supposed to thank him, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand that God is in control of everything, and even if you get hit by a truck, God did it, and you know.
And there is a silver lining, even though you can't quite see it. But the corollary of that is that there's a cloud in every silver lining. But who is to know? We can just enjoy whatever we find in life enjoyable before we get run over by a truck or something, or blown up by World War Three. But anyway, that is how we're supposed to reason, and also we have to accept that evil exists, because it is a price that we pay for understanding the concept of good, because we wouldn't be able to understand evil if we didn't understand its opposite of good. So,
Well,
logically.
yeah, I know, but these are secondary matters. And okay, anyone who gets interested in Judaism doesn't care about Torah. They don't care about Talmud. They care about Kabbalah. Like all of these white people that are into Judaism, they want to go to Kabbalah, and immediately they want to go to practical Kabbalah, which is about casting spells and stuff like that. This is what the fuck people think about, unfortunately, and that's why even Muslims lay harbor on this for for everything. And it's kind of like almost like the fear of math and science. Like the law is like almost like a science. It's like almost like a logical science, or something that a logician would spend time on. And
Well, sorry,
like I don't know why people need to worry about that, but this is going to get in your way, Claire. I mean, the and especially with
sorry, what is going to get in my way? I don't
the fact that
understand.
secular Quranism has nothing spiritual to offer is going
I
to get in
know.
your way.
I've gone through the spiritual bit. So for you, okay. So I'm saying, you have to. Okay, you have to act as if you believe that all evil and all good comes from God, and the purpose of our lives is to distinguish good from evil. We already have been told, if we consult scripture or the Noahide laws, we know what we're supposed to do and we know what we're not supposed to do, and I guess our lives are sort of negotiating what we think we are allowed to do, or what we can get away with doing. And sometimes we get it wrong. A lot of people get it wrong, but the rules are pretty clearly stated. So if there's an afterlife, obviously, we're going to get punished or rewarded or whatever. If there isn't, there is a certain. I mean, the reason is pretty clear about you can only have sex with your spouse, and your spouse has to be someone of the opposite sex, not within the forbidden degrees of consanguinity. Either obviously not your sister or your mother or your niece or your nephew, that sort of idea. No incest, and you can only have sex with your wife. So okay, I know you disagree, but anyway that is the rule for Jews, and you will have acknowledged this by saying that Judaism is the most heterosexual of all the religions, because it is the strictest in punishing sexual misbehavior. And that
Um,
might be the reason why Jews, uh, have become so powerful.
your spirituality is based on a bunch of what ifs. Like, if God exists, then this is what he would want. Like, people don't want to hear that. Like, then first of all, that's like that takes like last place in secular Quranism. All these what ifs. What if God exists? And if he does exist, then this is what he wants. Like, that's not enough to get people going, first of all. And that's also about following the law totally. Okay, if God exists, he wants you to follow the law. Secular Quranism doesn't talk about heaven. It doesn't talk about hell. It doesn't talk about metaphysics. It doesn't talk about the occult. It doesn't talk about rubbish. There are no
Well, okay.
ceremonies.
If you like that sort of thing, go read the Quran and go to the bits that aren't just the commandments of Allah. If that's what you want, I'm not stopping you. It's just
Yeah, but
optional.
how do you compete with someone who has law and religion at the same time? Like
But I already do. I have a pretty good understanding of what Orthodox Jews are supposed to think. And I've just explained it to you. You have to assume that everything that happens to you is from God, good or evil, and it's meant to teach you a lesson. And this life is meant for us to correct our character defects, and to show our worthiness to go to the better place in the afterlife. That's the whole
If
point.
if if he exists, most people don't want to hear if. They don't want to hear if. They want to hear he
Okay,
does.
but okay, they can. So you say, well, what's the point? We might never know. We can follow all the laws, and then we will never know, because if we die and there's no God, we just die wandering, and we still don't know. And I take their point, and therefore it could be said that we just have a moral obligation to act as if we believe and follow the laws, and okay, if we want to cheat, we can, because there's nothing to stop us but the law. And if the law catches us doing these things that we're not supposed to be doing, it'll punish us. And that's as far as it that will have to do with atheists, because if atheists don't think God exists, the only reason why they would refrain from doing anything is if they thought they wouldn't get away with it. So the law deals with the atheists, and for the spiritual and those who actually believe God exists and is watching their every move, they can feel more virtuous, and refrain from murder, theft, rape, and all that. For that reason.
Um, okay, but love, people are dumb and they want to talk about the nature of God. Okay, like not more than if God exists, the nature of God, and does he enter the universe, and does he have a son, and just shit.
Okay, I can deal with that. So you will be aware of the concept of the Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, and this concept of the Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, is also present in Islam as well as Judaism. And the function of the Holy Spirit is to be the agent of God, because the Jewish idea of God is that he created the universe and exists outside it as pure energy and spirit. So logically, he can't enter into his own universe without upsetting this concept of him being of a different substance to the material universe that he created. So the purpose of the Holy Spirit is that he sends his agent to make Mary pregnant, to cause miracles, and natural disasters, or whatever it is that he wants to do, earthquakes and floods and all that sort of thing. So and arguably the burning bush was not God, but the Holy Spirit being the speaker of God, a sound box for God, talking to Moses. So if you think of God like that, it kind of makes sense, right? So God cannot enter into his own universe. Some people can say, "Oh, but he's omnipotent." Well, it's like, no, he's God is logical. So it is a mistake to think that God is illogical, or that he is illogical just because we cannot see the reason behind things. A lot of things we won't be able to see until several generations later, long after we are dead. But I'm only seeing a certain pattern to in history that people going through the wars of the Reformation and whatnot wouldn't be able to see at the time. It's only through having a historical perspective that you can suddenly see things more clearly. And you know this analogy. It's like you don't really see that much if you're too close to something. It's only when you walk away that you can see the house and the garden and the hill the house sits on, or whatever. So you need this historical perspective in order to make sense of history. So I guess chroniclers just have no choice but to faithfully and accurately record events so that future generations of historians can make sense of it. And historians should not be accused of Holocaust denial, because then you're frightening them, and then they won't say what they believe to be the truth, and we don't learn the lesson of history. And this is what is so wrong about the the crimes of Holocaust denial. But these are just crimes that America kind of wanted to impose on Israel as well as its vassal states. So in Europe and the NATO countries, because it's there's so many things that are linked to Holocaust denial. That would undermine this post-war myth of America being the protector of Israel. So, while it is true that America, nominally protects Israel, to the disgust of all these anti-Semites, it's there for its own geopolitical interests. And there is a certain cost to administering an empire, and currently America thinks it's worthwhile to pay for the Iron Dome and whatever, and even pay for demonstrations against the Supreme Court reforms, the reforms to the Israeli Supreme Court, because it wants to keep Israel secular, and it wants to keep sending people prepared to support liberal democracy in Israel, because it already knows that the Orthodox community, they don't want to join the IDF, so they're useless, and also they're more likely to say, hey, what's the problem with Sharia? Sharia's a walk in the park for us ultra-Orthodox Jews, because we're much stricter than those silly Muslims. It's not going to be a problem for us, and this is what Netanyahu Carter say, but obviously the secular Jews will just freak out if they have to live under Sharia, and that's why they keep sending these secular Jews to join the IDF and to people the colony, the American colony of Israel. So it's, I think it makes sense once you see Israel in that way. And then as for America domestically, this is a way of stopping people from complaining about Israel by calling them Nazis if they don't see the point of spending their tax dollars on the protection of Israel. And then then they'll hate Jews more, and then the government will say we'll protect you Jews as long as you stay liberal and support liberalism. I think a lot of the Jews they're just sort of goody two shoes, or they just want to be teachers' pet. It's like, whatever is the mainstream orthodoxy, we're going to do it better. We're going to do it better than the Gentiles. We're going to be such good liberals. Jews are better liberals than Gentiles. I think it's their spirit of competition that makes them take the ball of liberal faster and run further with it, and because liberalism isn't really working for Gentiles, it actually causes more anti-Semitism that maybe the Jew doesn't understand.
Yeah, I know. I hate these alt-right people who they refuse to admit or even believe or entertain the fact that white Gentiles had anything to do with inventing liberalism. It's all the Jews. The Jews came in, invented it all, duped all the Gentiles, and it's 100% their fault. No, classical civilization was relatively liberal compared to Orthodox Judaism. The Gentiles were liberals first.
Yeah. I had this conversation on Twitter yesterday. It's just like, give me a few Jewish names. Like, who were the Jews in the French Revolution, or the Jews in the American Revolution? They can only say, Lenin was a bit Jewish or something. And it's like, no, but actually, if you're going to go by the Orthodox definition of who is a Jew, you're not a Jew if only your father is a Jew. And they're very strict about that, and I think they have to be, because otherwise, anybody can, I mean, I could say, well, I could have been the descendants of one of the women who were one of the concubines or wives of King Solomon, because apparently he had 700 wives and 300 concubines, So he spread his seed far and wide.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not enough. I mean, because I mean, one of the things that Rabbi Mizrahi keeps saying is that actually it's not such an advantage for Gentiles to convert to Judaism. I mean, they don't know, but we get punished for things that they wouldn't get punished for. They only have to obey the 7 no-hide laws, and they're okay. But we have to obey, all these things, and they won't be able to take it. And if they convert, they're going to get punished just like a Jew, and therefore they shouldn't convert. But etc. etc. So I don't think that Gentiles should convert, because it's just silly. I mean, it's obviously too hard for Jews to become, to remain Jews. So why would a Gentile, convert to Judaism and end up being punished more horribly than he would otherwise if there is an afterlife? And also, you're not going to be treated well, because, converts are just, so low on the pecking order that they always complain about being badly treated. And anyway, there's no reason. So I think Jewish identity is something that they don't really want to discuss, because if you listen to Rabbi Mizrahi, he's just saying, if you're a Jew and you live in America and you want to make Aliyah to Israel, don't show no signs in your application of being religious, because they don't want you. And if they realize you're religious, they're going to ask you all kinds of questions like, have you got your, grandfather's brother's birth certificate or something, because they don't want you to come. So really, they want secular Jews who are going to support the whole idea of liberal democracy, you see. So now that you kind of see the unstated agenda, it becomes clear what America wants Israel to do. It wants to people Israel with liberal Democrats prepared to die for liberal democracy. It's not interested in having religious Jews living in Israel. They're an annoyance, an irritation, and a burden, and they don't want them to go to Israel. And they made it quite clear, in their immigration rules, because they're saying, nominally you have to be a Jew, and you'll be considered a Jew if you're a Reformed Jew. And this would be heresy to the Orthodox Jews who've been making jokes about, if you really need to enter a place of religious worship, and that there's a church and there's a Reformed temple, which one should you go? And they said, don't go to the Reformed temple, because they're heretics. And it's worse to talk to a Jew who's a heretic than it is to talk to a Gentile who is an idol worshipper, because at least you know what you're talking to, when you're talking to, an idolater or a Christian. But if you're talking to somebody who's supposed to be Jewish, but who believes in all kinds of weird things, then you are putting your immortal soul at risk. So that's their reasoning. So Jewish identity needs to be sorted out, and they can't, I know they're conflicted. I mean, some years ago I had this conversation with a rabbi, and it was only then that I realised that these Orthodox Jews regarded these Reform and liberal Jews as heretics, and in the UK there's this thing called Limud, which is basically Christmas for Jews. So because of the holiday season, and it can go on for about a week or something. So what they do is they hire some university halls, student halls, and they have their Limud festival, and it's only for Reform Jews, and because Orthodox Jews wouldn't be seen dead at Limud. But some Orthodox, I knew an Orthodox rabbi who went, and he was considered a bit irregular for doing that, and then it was this sort of big thing, like Rabbi Sachs. He wouldn't go because he came from a more traditional school. He's dead now, and then the current chief rabbi, Mervis, he went, and then they went, oh, this is so monumental and historic, etc. Because it means a reconciliation of Orthodox Jews with Reform Jews, and then I noticed that there were other Jews who said it was the worst thing in the world, and said Rabbi Mervis was a heretic, and anyone who listened to anything he said would endanger their immortal soul. So basically, all the Jews in the British Commonwealth and in Britain are in trouble, shall we say. So this is a background that I've managed to dig up about the Jews, and they're not united, and they're always fighting each other, and but anyway, I guess if you don't know about them, you think, oh, that they're having a wonderful time bombing Hamas. But actually, I know somebody in Tel Aviv who has to go into a bomb shelter every day in Tel Aviv. So I don't think they're having such a wonderful time, but there you go.
No, they brought it on themselves. They shouldn't have gone there. They wanted to go there. They wanted to do all this. They wanted to expand. They want greater Israel. They want lots of things like that. And they pushed for it and pushed for it and pushed for it. And they got what they wanted. And now they're in a big trouble and a big mess. And there's a big mess now.
Well, the thing is, a lot of them didn't want to go. I mean, a lot of Jews after World War II said, we don't want a homeland, because the moment they give us a homeland, they'll tell us to fuck off to that homeland, and we're happy here, so we don't want it. And in a way, they were kind of bamboozled into voting for it, and then I guess if they continue to object to it, they would be called the self-hating Jew, right? But I mean, you can imagine, Jews at the time thinking, well, I don't want to live in Israel. It's full of Jews. It's just desert. I mean, who wants to go and live there? I'm happy in New York, New Jersey, whatever. London, Rome. I mean, I can understand that they don't want to be forced to move again. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is that Jewish opinion has been historically divided about Zionism, and Zionism has only been encouraged by the Anglo-Saxon Empire for their own geopolitical reasons. It's like, well, if we're going to administer Israel, we need to people it with people who are going to do what we want. And this is basically what British Israelism is about. So it's like, oh, you're a British Israelite, are you? Well, off you go to Israel. Well, wouldn't you like to go there? And then, anyone calling themselves British Israelites would go. But anyway, it didn't work for the British because, they had to leave Israel after World War II, and the burden passed to America. And you were reading yesterday from your thing about how Armstrong promoted British Israelism. Did you know that he worked in the advertising agency?
Yeah, for a little while. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I guess he was a smooth operator. He understood how these things worked. he kind of understood the whole, idea of, creating a cult. It's not enough just to say, oh, I'm just another Christian. I've got, he's got to give people, a range of different ideas that they wouldn't get from their Episcopalian church or their Catholic church or their Lutheran church. And I guess that was, that explained his success. Did you see any videos of him?
No, well, there's one that I haven't watched yet where he's talking about the Trinity, and I want to put that up on the website. For those who are interested, it's thearmstrongmystery.blogspot.com.
He rejected. Oh, maybe we can watch that. Can we watch that? Do you have the video of him talking about the Trinity?
Yeah.
I know he rejected it.
Yes, he did reject it. Hold on. Let's see how long it is, because I don't want to stay on much longer because I have to go do something, but let's just see how long it is.
Okay. No, I just feel that, in a way, things are coming to a head, and
Oh, it's only three. It's only three.
3 minutes. Cool. We can listen to it now.
Oh no, it's a half. It's a half hour, so I don't want to watch it now. But we can watch.
We can watch it
I
together
can't listen to
later.
it now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we can. We can. But okay. But he was even worse in that he supported like a family of gods. It was almost like Mormonism. You know what I mean? He had a lot of crazy.
No, I mean, Americans do need a religion. You can't have all these crazy cultists, just fleecing these, poor people of their money, by just using the brand of Jesus. Because that's this American Gnosticism thing that I was talking about because of your First Amendment. Because of the First Amendment, people just form their own religions and make money out of it. But they don't necessarily make, people better or happier. And that's why you need a moral system, an official handbook to protect Americans from these charlatans. It's for your own protection.
Well,
and it's not to say that you can't, dissent. It's just that you can't create your own religion.
What, under secular Quranism you can't?
Well, I mean, if secular Quranism were adopted, people just say, oh, Quranism, something to do with the Muslims, blah, blah, blah. So it's already attached to a belief system and attached to a book, an official handbook, book of rules. But if you don't, but the New Testament is just, you can't use it for anything. And the thing is, you're not even meant to, because the whole idea of establishing Christianity in Rome was that, Romans are supposed to believe in Christianity. If they get upset, there's they can pray to Jesus, and there's confession, and if they're upset, and we'll put on a good show every now and then. We give them music and beautiful things to look at in their stone churches and whatever, and that's their lot. But for spirituality, then it is kind of more direct, because what Jews and Muslims hate about Christianity, and maybe Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't know what your position is this idea that a priest can give you absolution for your sins. Do you have that in Jehovah's Witnesses?
No.
Yeah, it's a shocking idea, isn't it? It's like, I've killed someone, and, oh, can you forgive me, please, Mr. Priest, sir? And he says, okay, maybe you have to pay me a bit, but I'll give you absolution. So corrupt.
Yeah, no, it's horrible, and this is why people will go for Islam and Noahidism, because at least, like, okay, Crash Bandicoot says that Christian nationalism is a far greater meme than core secular Quranism. What are your laws? Christian nationalism is secular law with a Christian culture. Like, what law are you going? Okay, you're going to tell them they have to love God and love their neighbor. What else? What else are you going to tell them to do? And of course they're only going to outlaw homosexuality, but they're not going to put in the rest of the New Old Testament laws. What about the rest of the Old Testament? Why doesn't everything apply? Why only homosexuality? Why only adultery? Why not tattoos? Why not pork? Why not any of these things?
Well, I mean, the thing that he doesn't understand is that it's a spent force. You can't use it again. It's like a firework that's already blown up, because the three global empires of the West were based on Christian nationalism, or Christian imperialism, really, because it was, at the time, an imperial project to colonize the world and all that. But now, most Westerners, the overwhelming majority of Westerners, don't believe in God, let alone the Trinity. And the Trinity defines Christianity because it is the belief of the three most powerful churches in the world. And well, I'd say the Anglican Church is more powerful than the Catholic Church now, because of the concept of WASP supremacy, in that the Anglo-Saxon Empire represents Protestant control of territories, and this would include Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. So, plus America, of course. So it'd be, North America, and and even Russia, because Russia is Orthodox, right? So it's still, nominally Christian, but it can't work if people don't believe in it. They don't subscribe to the belief system, and there are no real rules to speak of. Which is why, the past 250 years has been so turbulent for the West. That all these revolutions are all about rejecting, Christian monarchs and their rule. I mean, the Russian Revolution was a rejection of the Tsar, and they killed the entire Romanov family. The French Revolution was about rejecting the church as well, because.
Claire, hold on one second. I got to pick up a phone call. Hold on.
Okay, I can talk to Crash Bandicoot. So what I'm saying is that you can't use Christian nationalism again, because you've used it as Christian imperialism. You acquired three global empires, they're crashing and burning because, not even Americans want more neoconservatism or more neoliberalism. Neoconservatism means endless wars, and neoliberalism means uncontrolled mass immigration. So you don't want that, and actually your government is using the church to tell you to be nice to immigrants. So you can't use Christianity again. You can only use the rule-based system of the Quran. Because there's nothing in the New Testament to tell you, that gives you authority to pass any law. And it's actually, verses in the Quran that has God saying that he supports a principle of, men and women and tribes and nations, and that sort of thing. So you should read it. I know you don't like it, but you should read it, and then you can just compare that to the New Testament, and you'll just know how crap the New Testament is.
Okay, Claire, I have to go.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.